the more important it is to give them some feedback and some recognition, because it's easy as you get older to, one, maybe just slide into retirement, or two, feel as if you're underappreciated for the new shiny thing. And we all need a pat on the back, no matter who you are, from the president of the United States to the street sweeper. We all need a pat on the back saying, attaboy, and then move on.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. I had a woman that reported under me, and she was twice my age, and I was a very young executive at the time. I think I was 28 when I took on my first CFO job, and I had a very ongoing conversation every month. We're going to talk about performance and goals and deadlines and all the things and where are we at. And she had shared with me, I've never had a boss show more interest in my personal and professional development than you have. And I've been in a career field a lot longer than you have. And so that's what I mean by it's not just a generational thing. You're absolutely right. I think all people need that. So when they don't get that, usually I find that leads to burnout. You're coming along, you're doing the best that you can, you're not getting feedback positively or negatively, you're just spinning around not knowing what direction you're headed to or heading into. And I think that leads to burnout. So how do you think people can combat burnout in this space with respect to all of these challenges they're juggling?
You know, I think, one, it goes back to who you are as an individual. I think that I've learned for myself, and I think others in the field, that those who see the job that they have as just one step in the continuum of their life, as opposed to their value wrapped around the work that they're doing, tend to have a healthier perspective on the environment that they're in. And they know when their time comes, when either maybe they're frustrated, it's irritated, it doesn't challenge them any longer. Their income necessarily isn't tied to, or their lifestyle isn't necessarily tied to the income that they're earning. By that I mean, they don't feel that they need to stay there because of the pay, if you will, regardless of what that level of pay is. I think the more you have a broader perspective of your life, I think the easier it is to identify burnouts. For me, I realized I spent a lot of time in the political arena, and I realized that as my personal faith increased, my tolerance for the day-to-day of politics decreased. And there was one instance where I realized I was done, and it all had to do with other people's egos needing to be validated to get something done. And it took us 6 months for their egos to be stroked to get to the point where we were at that one point in time. And we just wasted 6 months of time. And then I realized this is not for me any longer. So I think that, again, I think that the more you're in tune with who you are, I think, and you have people around you who you talk to, mentors, confidants, people who can give you the straight talk, who'll say, you know what, I think you need to take a step back. I think that you're maybe going a little bit off track here. I think all those things, I think, help counter burnout. But again, I think it also goes back to how you value people and how you recognize the individuals on your staff so that they don't burn out simply from you being the cause of the burnout. You know, the failure to recognize them, the failure to give them something that's challenging. And in some cases, the failure really to kind of pay them enough to at least make it worth their while to stay where they are.
I love that you talked about ego. And I think in my experience, and this is a little controversial topic, in the nonprofit world that I've spent a lot of my time in, I see a lot of egos, a lot of martyrdom, a lot of ineffective communication, right? And we don't want to just sit down and have the conversation and deal with the conflict and talk it out, which is always really fascinating to me. Because I'm working in a population space of people that are trained in these things in a professional sense. But when it's in a personal conflict way, and you hear this kind of things all the time in nonprofit administration, finance department versus the fundraising department, the administration versus the program side. And it's no secret, there's a lot of this conflict across the aisles. You're talking in a political sense, but I see a lot of that happen. Differing agendas with individual egos, and I think that leads to a large level of burnout as well, at least based on the people that I've noticed leave the sector for some of these political reasons. So I love that when you said
Yeah,
that you got
absolutely.
burnout based on ego.
Yeah, and let me just say one thing. The first job I had was doing civil rights work, and my
Mhm.
boss was very out of the box when it came to those issues. He said, "Listen, if we do our job correctly, there shouldn't be a need for a civil rights organization."
Mhm.
And he got attacked from every angle because his view was there should be an end in mind. We should have a goal that ends
Mhm.
what we do. But that was something that people could, like, egos wouldn't allow it. And in this
Mm.
case, you had a lot of people who were products of the 60s who are now in the administrative roles. They had
Mhm.
positions of authority. They could not let go of the idea that they would no longer be needed.
Mm.
Your
Their
egos couldn't
identity.
handle it.
It's their identity,
Their
right?
identity was wrapped around it. And you got to be
Mm.
very careful about that. That's why you need to have, I think, an idea of where your life is going and how what you